Welcome to this special edition of the LSA Forum. We have Miss Angelique on here to share her extensive knowledge. I have actually sat in on the last presentation that Angelique did, and it was outstanding. That's the reason why I've asked her to come onto the LSA Forum so that she could share her knowledge with everything that she spoke about at the last forum. It was really amazing. There was so much I learned as well. And I think a lot of people walked away from that going like, wow, there's so much that they learned from that forum. So I'm now going to hand it over to Angelique, who will start the presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harmeet. So my name is Angelique. I've been in the UAE for around 11 years. My specialization is in early childhood development, language acquisition. I also have a master's degree in psychology, and I use my master's to conduct some research in the UAE. So my research is on lived experiences of mothers with children with autism spectrum disorder. And I was thankful enough or fortunate enough to be able to publish my research as well. So it's peer and academic reviewed, and you're more than welcome to go and check it out online. I can also share it with you if you'd like me to. But my passion is to help people. I've been in the UAE, like I said, for 11 years. I want to help parents and I want to help students, and I want to create an environment where we don't have to judge students just by what a report says, but by what we see and what their potential is and what they can reach. So I hope that I leave a little bit of something with all of you, and I inspire you to continue the great work that you're doing. Because just like I tell all the shadow teachers that are my school, Ms. Helen already knows, I cannot do what I do without people like Ms. Helen. Sorry, I'm picking on you, Ms. Helen, but you're the only face that I see at the moment. But I cannot do what I do, and teachers cannot do what they do without your guidance and your support, because we're all in it together. The old saying of it takes a village to raise a child. So today's one is all going to be all about early childhood development and my passion, which is language. So how do we learn language? English is my first language, although in South Africa, where I grew up, we speak both languages similar to Dutch and English. We speak it at the same time. There's no differentiation in most households. Some people in South Africa speak 3 or 4 languages. So I'm fortunate enough to grow up in an environment where 4 languages are sometimes in my head, or 3 languages is in my head. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in our group today. So what I'd like you to do is put yourself in the shoes of a child learning English for the first time, or learning Arabic for the first time when you're engaged in today's session. And if ever you have questions, please raise your hand, or Ms. Harmeet will check the chat, hopefully, and then let me know if there's any questions, if anyone has something to ask. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's okay.
So my first question that I'd like to ask, and I would like you to interact, is what is the difference between speech and what is the difference between, or what's the difference between speech and language? That's our 2 today. What is speech and what is language?
You can put the answers in the chat if you're not comfortable calling out.
Yes,
but
please.
we would like to hear, because remember, there's no right or wrong answer. Just
Definitely.
say what you think it is.
And even if you don't know the answer, you can also say you don't know the answer. That's completely fine.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, yes.
Ma'am, I think speech is something which doesn't make sense, but a different type of sounds which a child can make. But language is something sensible, like proper words or sentences.
Yes, you're on the right track, definitely. Think about culture as well when we think about language. Not all language is the same, right? And not all speech patterns is the same. So you are on the right track saying that. Very good. So speech is the physical element, the motor skills that we have, how we pronounce, how we produce language, right? And then language is the way in which it's structured. Exactly like you said, with structure of it, the different places we form it. So for example, if I have to compare language and the culture of language, We have a similar dialect to people in Holland, but we speak it a little bit differently. Some of the words are the same. It's similar to when I always ask the same question to most of my friends from India and from Pakistan, Urdu and Hindi, and to them it's the same, but it's not the same. Some of the things are different, but it is the same. So there are similarities in languages, and then there's something that's completely different if you compare, let's say, Urdu and Portuguese. So it's culture as well. Language is rooted in culture, but speech is how we produce the sounds that we make, okay? So now when we think of a child's development, how old is a baby before they start to see, before they start to hear, and before they start to speak? So when a child is born, or when a child is still in utero, hearing is the first thing that develops. So they hear sounds outside. That's why they say it's good when a mom sings to their baby when they're in utero, because the baby can hear it. That's the first person the baby feels the connection with when the baby is born, the sound of the mom's voice or the sound of the dad's voice, right? And then later on, when they make these distorted images in front of their eyes and they can't see who their mom and dad are, they can still hear you. But as soon as their sight develops more, or their sight comes into focus, they can see their mom's face, they can see their dad's face. And that all forms part of our language acquisition and how language forms. My frame of reference and your frame of reference of language, vocabulary, and culture would be completely different to each other. So I want you to take that in account the more we talk today. Your frame of reference and my frame of reference. So when we consider language development and acquisition, like I said, we have to make sure that we understand that language is a development component, and we need cognitive and social to be able to develop language. So what is cognitive? Cognitive is my brain's ability. What is social? Social, what I love about most cultures is that we develop language through storytelling and social settings. So if you think about how a child understands social cues, how they understand social rules, how they understand stories, that is how parents talk to them, elders talk to them. And your cognitive capacity is how I'm filing. See, your brain is a filing cabinet. And I always say that to people. Your filing cabinet tells you how many things you can file in that cabinet for that frame of reference. So I'm going to do this activity a little bit later. So I don't want to jump the gun. But if I say the word cow, what is the first picture that comes to mind for you? It's not the same cow that I have in my mind. Each cow would look different, right? Language development starts with sounds and gestures, right? Just like when we look at a child or a baby's developmental stage, a child has to babble first before they get to speak. And then they start with 2 words. And we always have the saying in language development and acquisition, a child should know at least 5,000 words by the time that they're 5 years old in order to function or to be able to interact in their classroom setting. If we think about a KG1 child, for example, that 4.5 years old, how many words should they know? And regardless if it's not in English, right? It should be in Arabic, their first language, or it should be in French, or it should be in Urdu, or it should be in Hindi. But they should have a foundation to language that would give them access to social interaction and something that can help them with cognitive reflection and cognitive processes, right? Working towards sentences, working towards a paragraph at the end of the day if you're thinking of writing later on. So how do we do that? Through storytelling, through singing, talking, improving language. So if we think about the Tidy Up song that's in my head now, when we do it in KG. So clean up, everybody, everywhere. So there's so many new words in there that a child that doesn't have English as a language necessarily can pick up and can learn to develop. So myself included, when I had to learn Spanish and when I had to learn French, the best way I learn is through songs, and the best way I learn is through listening. So I like to listen to someone, and then I interact with toys and things and interactive things for me to be able to memorize it. So language can be a very simple thing, and we can apply it even to adults with early childhood development skills. So how can we support language as well in the classroom? The two most important things that we have to remember is language works firstly receptively, like I said, what I hear, and expressively. What I hear, I need to use as well. So do I hear the word correctly? Is the mechanism of my ear ready to hear the word? So for example, if you have a child with hearing difficulties, how are they pronouncing the word? Is it something that we need to work on with speech and language? Or is it something that we know, we accept, we understand that the child says it this way and that it's okay for them to say it that way because that is what they hear? Then we need to look at understanding emotions as well, because emotions has a lot to do with language. So there's this game that we play with the earlier students a lot, where I say to them, if I make an angry face and I say, I feel so happy. Do I look happy? So we can ask them to connect my facial expression to my language. What am I saying? Do you hear what I'm saying, or are you trusting your eyes? Saying, are your eyes saying I'm angry, or is it saying I'm happy? So it's a fun little game for them to play.
The baby, your sister.
Sorry, whoever it was that just joined, can you please go on mute? Thank you.
Sorry, I thought there was a question. So next around, so support with thinking and learning problem solving. So problem solving is one of the most important key elements later on in life when we look at child development, language development, social interaction, how they problem solve. Problem solve isn't just mathematics, 5 + 2 or 4 take away 3. It's how they solve problems in the world around them. So for example, putting on your shoe. You need language to put on your shoes. That is a problem. One of the students today on the football pitch, I helped him put on his shoes, but he didn't tell me that he needed help. He just felt frustrated and he kept on struggling and he made sounds instead of asking for help. Because there are two elements. He's a little bit older, so he feels embarrassed that he's struggling to put on his shoes, but also his language skills are delayed. So asking for help or calling an adult over, these are all problem-solving skills that we want to develop in a child. So giving them that opportunity or equipping them with language, equipping them with the confidence to say, can you help me? I need help with my shoe. My foot is too big, or my foot doesn't want to fit inside. So we give them a silly thing. For example, when he was busy putting on his shoes, I told him, oh my goodness, your foot is going to get stuck. So I'm making light of the situation so he doesn't feel embarrassed, number one. And number two, we want him to feel calm. Next time when he sees me, he's going to say, oh no, I need help with my shoe. So that confidence and the vocabulary that I want to help develop. Then maintaining that relationship. So how do we improve language? Receptive, expressive language, how you talk to your children, how you talk to your parents or your grandparents or your colleagues. That is all developing and maintaining relationships. And we want children to do the same thing. So there's different levels at which a child develops that stages of relationship and maintaining it. So in the beginning, when they're born, of course, they're with you all the time, the babies are there, but you'll see that in children that have developmental delays, that they have separation anxiety, and that separation anxiety is rooted in, I don't know what's going to happen next. And that's when we use communication cards, we use widget, we use the staggered start model for some of the students to transition back into school. So relationships is a very important element to language acquisition and development. Now, when we look at early childhood development, for those of you who know already, and I'm sure there are some of you who know, there are 5 elements of childhood development. And if you can see, the last 2 elements are both rooted in language development. So one is language and cognitive abilities and skills. Those are school-based skills that we need language for. So for example, you'll hear a lot of the times teachers would say, the student is book smart, or the student has a lot of academic skills, but not a lot of social, emotional communication skills. And that is a very important element, because one day we want them to be able to be independent. I just don't want them to memorize book knowledge. I would like them to have friends. How do we make friends? We make friends by social interaction. We make friends by problem solving. We make friends through parallel play. That's what I'm going to discuss with you later as well, the different forms of play and how that's important in language development. But when we go through the stages of this, or the components of child development, we looked at physical health and well-being is important, yes. Social competencies are important, emotional maturity, yes. But language has two elements, and that's very important elements in language acquisition and development. So the domains of early childhood development are your keys to seeing where your children are going to end up. It doesn't matter if you support children that are in KG or older. Language development is something that you'll do throughout. So in our school specifically, we do a program called Widget. I'm not sure if you are familiar with it. I'll show you a bit later what it looks like. But Widget is an essential program that I use up to grade 7. There are so many students that benefit from it because we use it in science vocabulary, math vocabulary. It doesn't just have to be used for social interaction or play. We use it for a range of things, how to improve language. Receptive, which is what I listen to, and expressive, how I use the language that I've learned about, right?
Thank you. And also, just I'm going to jump on.
Yes,
We are trying to organize a widget workshop, if possible, online. Hopefully that will be our next forum. So that is, you're right, it is a very, very useful tool.
I'll show everyone what it looks like a bit later. It's really a very nice tool to use. I'd like everyone to see if they can scan the stages of language development. So I made it easy for you to access and have it there with you. So I have this as part of my, my resources that I use for teachers. And I make sure that teachers understand the developmental stages based on students that are in KG1. So I just want to scan this for myself, and because I don't want to open it on the computer. So when we look at the stages of development, we see that for a child that is within the age range of 3 to 6 months, what do we look at for language development? From birth, like I said, in the utero, they can hear you. So that is our receptive part of language. I hear my mom's voice. I hear her say my name. I hear her say my dad's name or my brother's name. I hear her singing. That is where language starts, within our ears. That's where we start. Where do we store it? We store it cognitive centers. Then between the ages of 3 to 6 months, we look at what else is language. Language is attention. Now, students with difficulties with focus and attention, we already expect them to have that language, or we notice that they have a language delay within that area. So 3 to 6 months, we want them to be able to pay attention. Look at mom and dad. Pay attention to if you do the what my friend is doing with her baby at the moment with flying the airplane when you go for the food. So, where's the food going? So you need to pay attention to where the food is, or where your name is. Are they turning their head, looking at different locations? Then for 6 to 12 months, location and differentiation. So now not only is my mom talking to me, but I can hear our dog barking in the background. So I can look at my mom, but I can say, oh, there's a dog on that side. So am I paying attention to language within my surroundings, right? These are within the norm for every child that is at least by the age of 12, where we want them to look at different sounds. When a child is not looking at differentiated sounds, then we need to look at whether they have a hearing difficulty or maybe an ear infection or anything like that. So a pediatric neurologist is someone that's very important to befriend in our world. Then by the age of 12 to 18 months, that is our early stage of reciprocal language. So what does reciprocal mean? That means I'm listening to my mom and I'm responding in my way. So there's so many cute babbling videos on Instagram of babies that I've seen that have argued with their parents. And I'm sure that you've seen it as well. And the babies make no sense whatsoever, but they're arguing with their parents. And that is the foundational form of reciprocal conversation. So you'll see, for example, if I recently watched this one where the mom said to the baby, but you're not sleeping. Why aren't you sleeping? And the baby just ended up by saying, blah, 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 blah. That is reciprocal conversation. So most likely in the baby's mind, she's already saying, I'm not tired, mom. Why should I sleep? So that is the stages of reciprocal conversation. Even if you work with a child with a language delay, or they have autism, or they have Down syndrome, don't see it as we need them to be able to speak and produce words and produce sounds. If they show interest in reciprocal language, that is a victory already. We need to make sure that they engage with us. If they can engage with us and they respond to us, that is a win already in our books. So 18 months to 2 years, now we're starting to talk. And now we're starting to use words. We're starting to pick up words. We're starting to use words like no, which is one of the words that I know teachers love when they have the kids in nursery, for example. They love it when the kids say no, but praise the child when they use the words. Redirect them if you have to, if it's a behavioral concern. But expressive language, I'm using what I can. I'm singing, I'm babbling, and I'm using everything in my environment to express myself and use the vocabulary. Now, when we get to ages 2 and 3, that's when they begin to tell stories. And this is also my favorite stage when I look at child development, because the stories here are very broken and very exaggerated sometimes. So sometimes you'll get, Miss, I was in this holiday, and then my dad was really excited, and that's perfectly normal. We want them to do that because remember, that's problem solving. That's their cognitive ability. Their mouth is thinking faster than their brain can keep up because they've got so many words that they want to just say and they can't keep up with it. So that storytelling and the attempts to engage, that's what we want to do. They are still easily distracted because language is easily distracted. Remember, they're between 12 months that I said, yes, where that differentiation comes in. I'm telling my teacher a story, but oh, there goes my friend. So I get easily distracted, and that's perfectly normal. There are many times when shadow teachers or parents would ask me about language development, and they would say, oh, they're easily distracted. And I would tell them that age-wise, that's still fine. That's perfectly normal. It's normal for your child not to listen to you or not to want to listen to you when they're 2 years old. They want to play, they want to run, they want to jump. They want to engage in the spider that they just saw there instead of listening to an adult. So give them that opportunity. Praise them for the short conversation you had, and go and praise them if they find a spider randomly on the floor. For 3 to 4 year olds, listening to stories is very important as well, because that's when language starts. So receptive language gives you expressive language, and how you file it in your filing cabinet is important as well. Yes, they can still be easily distracted, but around this age, we look at 3 minutes of sustained attention. That means, can they sit down for 3 minutes, listen to a story, or 3 minutes complete a puzzle, or 4 minutes max, because we go based on age. So 3 minutes for 3 years, 4 years, 4